You are sitting in a conference room or at a dinner party. Everyone is smiling, nodding, and exchanging pleasantries. But underneath the polished surface, the air feels heavy. Every interaction operates like a quiet audition. You can sense that someone in the room disapproves of you. You feel the friction, but because they haven't said a single hostile word, you have no way to prove it. You are left second-guessing your own read of the situation. This sensation stems from an evolutionary survival mechanism known as the threshold of social surveillance. For early humans, missing a subtle shift in group dynamics meant risking exile, so we evolved to constantly monitor our environment for hidden threats. Looking at this neural pathway, you can see how the monitoring system operates entirely in the background. Long before your conscious mind registers a polite insult, your primitive lizard brain is already scanning the room for invisible friction. The brain immediately flags the gap between a person's friendly vocabulary and their hostile physical cues. By the time your frontal lobe catches up to process the polite words, your body has already reacted to the physical threat. The people judging you are bound by this exact same biology. Their subconscious mind cannot keep a secret. No matter how perfectly they control their vocabulary, their true assessment is constantly leaking out through involuntary microhabits. Learning to identify these biological leaks validates your gut instincts. It provides the data needed to understand the actual temperature of the room, allowing you to adjust your approach in real time. The first place the polite illusion cracks is the face. We spend decades practicing our social masks, but conscious control over our facial muscles is highly imperfect. Watch for the dead space of performative silence. A secret critic is not actively listening to your ideas. Their eyes glaze over slightly because they are simply waiting out the clock until you stop talking so they can interject. When they do react, look for the asymmetrical smirk. A genuine smile pulls symmetrically upward. A single-sided contraction, pulling up at only one corner of the mouth, is the universal physical expression of contempt and perceived superiority. Further up the face, you will find the eyebrow micro-flicker. The exact millisecond a critic believes they have spotted a logical flaw in your presentation, their eyebrows will jump. This reaction happens in a fraction of a second. It is an automatic neurological reflex directly tied to surprise and scrutiny, making it nearly impossible for them to catch and suppress in real time. These tiny muscular contractions serve as your early warning system. They confirm that the person across from you has dropped their polite cover in their own mind, even if their words have not yet caught up. If the face shows the initial judgment, the environment reveals the defensive strategy. Critics will subconsciously manipulate the space between you to protect their position. They will start building physical barricades. Using items already on the table, they slide a coffee cup or precisely align a smartphone to create a visible defensive boundary line separating their space from yours. Across that boundary, they deploy the lingering gaze. This is a stare that holds eye contact for roughly 2 seconds longer than is socially comfortable. They are not holding your gaze out of deep engagement with your story. They are treating you as a subject under a microscope, taking a silent mental inventory of your appearance, your posture, and your insecurities. While eyes knock on you, their lower body plans a retreat. This vector shows the torso squared politely, while feet pivot toward an exit. Maintaining a polite face depletes cognitive bandwidth, leaving the lower extremities to act on the visceral desire to flee. By controlling the physical objects on the table and shifting their body's trajectory, the critic successfully claims dominance over the environment while technically maintaining their polite social cover. Eventually, the tension builds until the subconscious judgment breaches the surface entirely. It leaves the realm of body language and manifests directly in spoken communication. You will hear it in the form of a clarifying question. Rather than asking for actual details, the question is strategically engineered to isolate a knowledge gap and display it for the room. They will also use the verbal echo. They pull a specific phrase you just used and repeat it back to you, adding a slight rising inflection of disbelief to make your own idea sound ridiculous. Finally, they deploy the backhanded compliment. By pairing superficial praise with a subtle critique, they manage to insult you while forcing you to say thank you, establishing an artificial social hierarchy right there on the spot. Verbalizing the critique signals the transition from accidental leaks to an intentional power play. The critic is actively attempting to dominate the interaction. The polite illusion is now transparent. You can identify the physical barricades, the micro-flickers of doubt, and the specific intent behind backhanded compliments. To neutralize this behavior, you apply a psychological defense mechanism known as radical transparency. Instead of getting defensive, you respond to their condescension with disarming, literal sincerity. If they repeat your words with irony, you calmly agree and expand on the point, refusing to acknowledge the intended insult. Radical transparency strips away their cover. By refusing to play into the unspoken tension, you drag their passive-aggressive behavior directly into the harsh light of conscious awareness, leaving them with no place to hide. Mastering these 7 involuntary cues provides a framework for navigating social friction. By reading the actual intent behind a polite facade, you can transform an ambiguous encounter into a manageable interaction.